If you're over 60, there's a silent change happening inside your body right now, and most men don't realize it until it disrupts their life. It starts quietly. A weaker stream, waking up once, then twice, then 3 times a night. That constant pressure you feel but never talk about. And here's the shock. For many older men, prostate enlargement isn't driven by age alone. It's fueled every single day by something they believe is healthy. I've seen men lose sleep for years, plan their lives around bathrooms, turn down trips, avoid long drives, all because their prostate slowly tightened its grip. The frustration isn't just physical. It eats at your confidence, your independence, your sense of control as a man. And the worst part? Most are told, this is just part of getting older. But that isn't the full truth. Here's the paradox most men never hear. Some common foods praised as good for you can quietly worsen prostate swelling after 60, while one simple dietary shift can begin calming prostate inflammation far faster than expected. I'm not talking about surgery. Not prescription drugs, not extreme treatments. In fact, when this one common fruit is used correctly, it can help reduce inflammatory pressure in the prostate in as little as 24 hours, not by shrinking it overnight, but by relaxing the very processes that drive enlargement. That's why what you eat today matters more than what you were told 20 years ago. My name is Dr. Mohit Kara. I'm a physician specializing in men's health and urology, with over 30 years of experience working with men over 60 who want relief, clarity, and control, without fear-based medicine. And what I'm about to share may change how you view your prostate forever. Before we go any further, I want to make sure you continue getting clear, trustworthy health guidance made specifically for men over 60. If you haven't subscribed yet, now is a good time to do so and turn on notifications so you don't miss important information that could directly impact your health. And as you watch, let me know. Type 1 if this information is helpful, or 0 if there's something you'd like explained better, as we move into the foods that quietly support your prostate. 1. Blueberries. Most men are shocked when I tell them this. Prostate enlargement doesn't get worse because the prostate is getting older. It gets worse because it's quietly inflamed, day after day, often without pain, without warning, and without obvious symptoms until damage is already underway. That deep, constant pressure you feel in the pelvis, the nights broken into short stretches of sleep, the feeling that your bladder is never truly empty, those are not random inconveniences. They're signs of chronic inflammation tightening its grip. And here's something almost no one talks about. Inflammation in the prostate behaves very much like a slow-burning fire. It doesn't need dramatic triggers. It feeds on subtle signals. Oxidative stress, poor blood flow, unstable blood sugar, all issues that accelerate after 60. This is where blueberries quietly change the story. Blueberries are not powerful because they're sweet or trendy. They matter because they are one of the richest natural sources of compounds called anthocyanins. These compounds don't stimulate the prostate. They don't force it to do anything. They calm it. Anthocyanins work by neutralizing oxidative stress, the internal friction that keeps prostate tissue irritated and swollen. Over time, this stress causes cells in the prostate to swell, blood vessels to stiffen, and smooth muscle to lose its ability to relax. That's when urinary flow weakens and urgency sets in. Men often assume prostate relief must feel dramatic to be real. It doesn't. Real improvement often feels like less effort, less resistance when you urinate, less awareness of your bladder during the day, fewer nights where sleep is interrupted for no clear reason. I've watched men in their late 60s and 70s experience subtle but meaningful shifts after consistently adding blueberries to their diet, not as a cure, not as a miracle, but as part of calming the internal environment that allows the prostate to function without constant irritation. What's important is this: blueberries don't work instantly, and they don't work aggressively. They work quietly, which is exactly what an aging prostate needs. A prostate that's already sensitive doesn't respond well to extremes. It improves when inflammation is reduced, circulation improves, and tissue is allowed to relax rather than defend itself. There's also another overlooked benefit. Blueberries help stabilize blood sugar, which matters more than most men realize. Blood sugar spikes trigger insulin surges, and insulin doesn't just affect muscles and fat, it influences prostate tissue as well. Calmer blood sugar often means calmer inflammation. This is why blueberries work best when they're eaten regularly, in modest amounts, and as part of a balanced meal. They send a steady signal of protection, not a jolt. For many men, this becomes the first moment they realize something important. Prostate health isn't about fighting the body. It's about creating conditions where the prostate stops fighting back. And blueberries are often the first quiet step in that direction. But inflammation is only one piece of the puzzle. Even a calm prostate struggles if circulation is poor. And that brings us to the next fruit most men underestimate, one that directly supports blood flow to the prostate and pelvic region in a way few foods can. 2. Pomegranate seeds. Here's something that stops most men cold when they hear it for the first time. Your prostate may not be getting worse because it's growing. It may be struggling because it's being starved. Starved of oxygen, starved of nutrients, starved of healthy blood flow. As men move past 60, circulation to the pelvic region quietly declines. Blood vessels stiffen. Microcapillaries narrow. And when the prostate doesn't receive steady, nourishing blood flow, inflammation lingers instead of healing. Pressure builds instead of releasing. The prostate hardens instead of relaxing. That's when urination becomes a chore rather than a simple body function. That's when sitting for long periods feels uncomfortable. That's when men begin adjusting their lives around their symptoms. What shocks many men is realizing how closely prostate discomfort is tied to circulation. Not just hormones or age. This is where pomegranate seeds quietly enter the picture, not the juice. Not the sweetened bottles lining grocery shelves, the actual seeds. Pomegranate seeds are rich in unique plant compounds called polyphenols, known for one essential function, supporting healthy blood vessel function. These compounds help blood vessels relax and widen slightly, improving circulation, including to areas like the prostate that are often neglected as we age. Better circulation means more oxygen reaching irritated tissue. More oxygen means less inflammation. Less inflammation means the prostate can finally stop bracing itself and begin calming down. Men often ask me what prostate improvement is supposed to feel like. My answer surprises them. It's usually not dramatic. It's subtle, almost anticlimactic. A man may notice that emptying his bladder feels more complete, that the tight, full sensation fades faster. That pelvic discomfort no longer lingers after urination. These changes don't come from forcing the prostate to shrink. They come from restoring an environment where healing is possible. There's also an emotional layer here that men don't talk about enough. When circulation improves, confidence follows. Men tell me they stop scanning every room for the nearest bathroom. They feel more comfortable sitting through long drives or meetings. They sleep more deeply because they trust their bodies again. That sense of control matters. And pomegranate seeds support this process without overstimulation. They don't spike blood sugar. They don't irritate tissue. They provide calm, steady support. Exactly what an aging prostate responds to best. I've seen men who thought progression was inevitable begin to feel a quiet shift after making circulation-focused dietary changes. Not because their prostate vanished, but because it stopped fighting them. What's critical here is consistency. Pomegranate seeds aren't a one-time fix. They work when used gently and regularly, allowing blood flow to improve day after day. This is where many men realize something important. Prostate health isn't just about what you remove, it's about what you restore. But circulation alone isn't enough. Even with healthy blood flow, the prostate can remain irritated if blood sugar and hormonal balance are being pushed in the wrong direction. And this brings us to a fruit almost every man has underestimated his entire life, one that quietly stabilizes the internal signals that determine whether the prostate stays calm or stays inflamed. Let's talk about apples. and why eating them the wrong way can make all the difference. 3. Apples with the skin. Here's a truth that surprises many men when they finally hear it. Your prostate may not be reacting to what you eat. It may be reacting to how your body processes sugar now. After 60, the rules change. Foods that never bothered you in your 40s quietly begin sending different signals. Blood sugar rises higher, insulin lingers longer, and those hormonal ripples don't stay in the bloodstream. They reach the prostate. This is one reason prostate enlargement progresses even when a man thinks he's eating normally. And this is where the apple, eaten correctly, becomes far more powerful than it looks. Not apple juice, not applesauce, not peeled apple slices. A whole apple with the skin chewed slowly. The apple skin contains a compound called quercetin, a natural anti-inflammatory that helps reduce the chemical signals that keep prostate tissue irritated. But the real strength of apples lies deeper than a single compound. Apples deliver fiber in a way that gently regulates blood sugar, preventing the sharp spikes that silently aggravate prostate enlargement. Those spikes trigger insulin surges, and insulin influences hormone conversion inside prostate tissue, a process strongly linked to swelling and tightness. When blood sugar stays calmer, the prostate stays calmer. Men who make this simple change often describe a shift that's hard to explain at first. They don't feel treated. They feel less strained. Urination feels less urgent. The bladder feels less reactive. The prostate seems less demanding of attention. That calmer internal rhythm matters. There's also something deeply emotional here for many older men. Apples are familiar. They were there in childhood lunches, on kitchen tables, in routines formed long before health became fragile. Eating an apple daily doesn't feel medical. It feels human. And that matters, because healing isn't just biochemical. It's psychological too. When men feel grounded in simple habits, their bodies respond differently. Stress hormones settle, tension eases. The nervous system stops sending emergency signals to already sensitive organs. I've worked with men who spent years chasing prostate relief through complex strategies, only to discover that stabilizing blood sugar changed everything. One man in his early 70s told me the biggest improvement wasn't even his urinary flow. It was the absence of that constant worry that something was about to go wrong. That's the kind of relief that doesn't show up on a lab test, but changes daily life dramatically. It's also why apples must be eaten intentionally. Juice strips away fiber. Peeling removes protection. Rushing defeats the purpose. The benefit doesn't come from sweetness. It comes from balance. At this age, the prostate responds less to force and more to consistency. And apples quietly reinforce that message. But even with steady blood sugar and calmer inflammation, aging tissue still faces another challenge: defending itself from ongoing oxidative stress. That kind of stress slowly damages cells, weakens repair processes, and keeps the prostate sensitive even when everything else is improving. That's where the next fruit enters the conversation, one that looks small and unassuming, yet provides deep protection at a cellular level most men never think about. 4. Kiwi. Here's something most men underestimate. And it catches many off guard when they finally realize it. Your prostate isn't just irritated by what it endures, it's weakened by what it can no longer defend itself against. After 60, the prostate faces a constant stream of internal stress. Free radicals, low-grade inflammation, cellular wear that builds quietly over years, and when the body's antioxidant defenses fall behind, sensitive prostate tissue becomes more reactive, more fragile, and slower to recover. This is why some men feel like even small things suddenly trigger discomfort. That's where kiwi changes the conversation. Kiwi may look modest, even insignificant, but inside that small fruit is one of the most concentrated natural sources of vitamin C and protective antioxidants available in everyday food. And vitamin C does not work like a stimulant, it works like a shield. In the prostate, oxidative stress damages cell membranes and keeps inflammatory signals switched on longer than they should be. Vitamin C helps interrupt that process by neutralizing the compounds that attack tissue integrity. This allows aging cells to maintain structure rather than constantly defending themselves. Men often ask me what prostate protection feels like. My answer is simple. It feels like resilience. Resilience means the prostate doesn't overreact. It doesn't flare easily. It recovers faster after irritation. That's what Kiwi supports. Another reason Kiwi matters for older men is its remarkably low glycemic impact. Many fruits deliver antioxidants but spike blood sugar, a trade-off that works against the prostate. Kiwi doesn't play that game. Its sugar is modest, balanced by fiber, allowing men to gain protection without triggering insulin-driven inflammation. This balance is critical. I've seen men who were trying to eat clean unknowingly sabotage prostate progress with sweet fruits that stressed their system. Switching to Kiwi brought calm back into the equation. Not excitement, not stimulation, just steadiness. And steadiness is what an aging prostate responds to. There's also a deeper, emotional layer here that deserves attention. As men age, the constant feeling of vulnerability, not knowing when symptoms will flare, creates tension they carry quietly. That tension feeds into the nervous system, increasing muscle tightening around the bladder and prostate. When irritation decreases, anxiety follows. Several men have told me they didn't realize how much mental energy they were spending managing their symptoms until that background stress lifted. Kiwi doesn't just support the prostate physically, it supports confidence indirectly by helping the body feel less under threat. This fruit works best when it becomes part of a routine rather than a reaction. Regular, calm nourishment sends a repeated signal to the body: you are supported. That signal matters more than most men realize. Because at this stage of life, the goal isn't to overpower the prostate. It's to protect it long enough for healing to happen. But protection alone isn't enough. Even a well-defended prostate can remain tense if the tissue itself lacks proper structural support. Without the right fats, cell membranes stiffen, hormone signaling becomes distorted, and inflammation lingers beneath the surface. And that brings us to a fruit most men don't even think of as a fruit, one that supports the prostate in a completely different way by helping it relax from the inside out. 5. Avocado. This is the moment that surprises almost every man I speak to. Your prostate may not be irritated because it's under attack. It may be uncomfortable because it's become too tense to relax. As men age, prostate tissue often loses flexibility. Cells become rigid, blood vessels stiffen, hormonal signals lose rhythm, and when tissue can't relax, even mild inflammation feels amplified. Urination becomes strained, pressure lingers longer than it should. Most men try to fix this by cutting, restricting, or forcing change. Very few realize what the prostate actually needs. It needs the right kind of fuel. That's where avocado enters the picture. Avocado is technically a fruit, but it behaves nothing like most fruits. Instead of sugar, it delivers healthy monounsaturated fats. The same fats that help keep cell membranes flexible and responsive. These fats are not just energy, they are structure. Your prostate is made of cells that must expand and contract smoothly. When healthy fats are lacking, those cells lose elasticity. Signals between nerves, muscles, and glands become distorted. The prostate stays tense even when it should release. Men often describe this tension without knowing how to name it. A feeling of pressure that never fully disappears. A sense that the body is holding on when it should let go. Avocado helps change that internal environment. By providing fats that integrate into cell membranes, avocado supports smoother communication between tissues. Hormones move more efficiently. Inflammatory signals soften. Blood vessels remain supple rather than constricted. What does that feel like? Men tell me it feels like less resistance, less straining, less awareness of the prostate throughout the day. And there's another layer most men overlook: fat-soluble nutrients. Avocado helps the body absorb vitamins like vitamin E and carotenoids, compounds known to protect aging tissue from oxidative stress. Without adequate fat, those nutrients never fully reach where they're needed. Avocado doesn't just contribute support, it amplifies the support from the rest of the diet. Emotionally, this is where many men pause. After years of believing fat was the enemy, they're surprised to learn that avoiding healthy fats may have worked against them. Especially after 60, deprivation often creates more stress than health. I've seen men regain a sense of internal comfort simply by allowing the body to receive nourishment instead of restriction. When the prostate feels supported rather than threatened, it stops sending distress signals. This doesn't happen overnight. But it happens steadily. Half an avocado regularly, combined with balanced meals, sends a powerful message. The body is safe, nourished, and no longer under metabolic stress. And when the body feels safe, tension releases. That's a principle that applies far beyond the prostate. But there's something just as important as what you eat. And that's how and when you eat it. Because even the most supportive foods can lose their benefit if they're used incorrectly. And that's exactly what we need to talk about next. 6. How and when you eat these fruits matters. Here's the part that unsettles many men when they finally hear it. You can eat all the right foods for your prostate and still see no improvement at all. Not because the foods don't work, but because timing and combination quietly cancel their benefits after 60. An aging prostate doesn't just respond to nutrients, it responds to signals. And those signals are shaped by when you eat, what you eat together, and how your body processes food now, not decades ago. After 60, digestion slows. Insulin stays in the bloodstream longer. Hormones react more strongly to spikes and crashes. This means your prostate feels the effects of mistimed eating far more than you realize. Many men make the same mistake. They eat fruit alone, on an empty stomach, or late at night. What happens next feels subtle, but inside the body, it's anything but calm. Fruit eaten alone can spike blood sugar rapidly. That spike triggers insulin surges, and insulin influences growth and tension in prostate tissue. Instead of calming inflammation, the prostate receives a mixed message, part support, part stress. I've seen men add healthy fruit and then wonder why nighttime urination worsened. It wasn't the fruit, it was the timing. For the prostate, steadiness matters more than intensity. Fruits work best when eaten with protein or healthy fat, something that slows sugar absorption and stabilizes the internal environment. This allows antioxidants to work without stirring inflammation. Another overlooked issue is late eating. Food consumed in the evening, especially fruit, can increase nighttime urine production and irritate an already sensitive bladder-prostate connection. Men wake more often, sleep breaks, and recovery slows. Poor sleep alone worsens hormonal balance and inflammation the following day. That's how progress quietly reverses. The men who do best follow a simple rhythm. They eat prostate-supportive foods earlier in the day. They pair fruit with meals. They keep evenings light and predictable. And their prostate responds with less urgency and fewer nighttime disruptions. There's something deeply emotional tied to this. Many older men feel betrayed by their bodies. They believe they're doing something wrong without knowing why. When they finally understand that the body hasn't failed, it's simply operating under different rules, that frustration softens. Consistency replaces confusion, and consistency is what the prostate craves. I often remind patients, the prostate does not heal in bursts, it heals in conditions. Calm blood sugar, predictable digestion, restful nights, repeated daily signals that tell the body it's safe. That's when tissue begins to relax. It's not about perfection, it's about alignment. But there's one more issue that can quietly erase all this progress if it isn't addressed. A mistake so common that many men never realize it's the reason nothing is changing, no matter how healthy their diet looks on paper. And if this one habit stays in place, it can override everything you've just learned, even the best foods used the right way. That's what we need to talk about next. 7. The one common mistake that cancels prostate progress. Here is the hard truth that catches most men off guard, and sometimes even frustrates them. Many men are unknowingly undoing their prostate progress every single day, even while trying to do everything right. It's not because they lack discipline, it's not because they didn't try hard enough, and it's not because their prostate is beyond help. It's because one quiet habit keeps the prostate in a constant state of irritation, no matter how many healthy foods are added. That mistake is layering support on top of inflammation, instead of removing the source of irritation first. I see this all the time. Men add blueberries, switch to better fats, eat wisely during the day, and then unknowingly keep the very habits that keep the prostate tense and swollen. Sugar hidden in drinks, late-night snacking, processed health foods, fruit juices that spike insulin, even well-intentioned snacks that keep blood sugar elevated into the evening. The prostate does not respond well to mixed signals. When inflammation is triggered repeatedly, the prostate shifts into a defensive mode. Tissue tightens. Blood flow becomes less efficient. Hormonal signals skew toward growth and pressure, not relaxation. In that state, even supportive foods are forced to work uphill. Men often describe this as a feeling of being stuck. Nothing gets worse, but nothing truly improves. Progress feels fragile or non-existent. This is where discouragement settles in. Emotionally, this is devastating. Many men quietly begin to believe that prostate decline is inevitable, that relief must come with medication, procedures, or surrendering to interrupted sleep and constant planning around bathrooms. But the issue was never effort, it was interference. The prostate cannot calm down in an environment that remains inflammatory. Removing what irritates matters more than adding what supports. Late-night eating is a major offender. When insulin remains elevated overnight, hormone signaling shifts in a direction that encourages prostate tension and nighttime urgency. Poor sleep follows, and poor sleep further inflames the prostate the following day. A cycle forms, quietly reinforcing itself. Sugary drinks, even fruit-based ones, are another common trap. Liquid sugar delivers rapid glucose spikes that the prostate feels indirectly through insulin and inflammatory pathways. Men assume fruit juice is nourishing, not realizing it may be undermining everything else they're doing. Processed health bars, sweetened yogurts, and packaged snacks play a similar role. They look safe, but they keep the internal environment unstable. The men who finally begin to feel relief nearly always make the same realization. Support works only after irritation is reduced. When the body stops feeling attacked, it starts responding. I've watched men experience real shifts not by adding more strategies, but by simplifying. By creating spaces in the day where blood sugar stays calm, where digestion finishes before sleep, where the body isn't asked to manage constant input. That's when prostate progress stops being temporary and starts becoming real. And this leads to one final, essential conversation. Because this approach is not meant for everyone. Some men are excellent candidates for gentle dietary support. Others need medical oversight, monitoring, or more caution. Knowing which category you fall into matters, and understanding that distinction may be the most important step of all. 8. Who this approach is for and when caution matters. Here is a truth that can feel unsettling at first, but deeply empowering once you understand it. This approach is not about treating a disease. It's about supporting a body that still knows how to respond. And that distinction matters. This way of supporting the prostate is meant for men who feel something changing, but who are not yet at a point of crisis. Men who notice interrupted sleep, a weaker stream, a sense of pressure that comes and goes. Men who know their body well enough to sense that something is off, but also know they still have room to steer their health in a better direction. It's for men over 60 who want to stay ahead, not play catch-up. For these men, gentle, consistent dietary changes can shift the internal environment enough for real improvement to begin, Not overnight, not dramatically, but in a way that restores confidence and control. Two things prostate issues quietly take away first. I've worked with men who felt relief simply because they stopped fearing their next bathroom trip, because they started sleeping through the night again, because their days stopped being organized around urgency. That matters more than numbers on a chart. But here's where honesty is essential. This approach is not designed to replace medical care. It's not a substitute for proper evaluation, monitoring, or treatment when those are needed. Men with severe urinary retention, rapidly rising PSA levels, or known prostate cancer must approach dietary strategies with guidance and caution. Food can support healing conditions, but it cannot undo structural blockages or serious disease on its own. There is no shame in needing medical care. In fact, the strongest men I know are the ones who combine informed nutrition with appropriate oversight. They do not ignore symptoms. They do not self-diagnose. They partner with their doctors and use lifestyle choices to strengthen the body rather than stress it further. This balance is what protects dignity. Emotionally, this is often the moment men feel a release. They realize they're not late, they're not broken, they're not failing because their body has changed. Aging simply demands a different kind of respect, one that favors calm over force, rhythm over urgency. Your prostate is not the enemy. It is a signal asking for steadier blood sugar, a signal asking for less inflammation, a signal asking for daily choices that support rather than challenge it. And here's something I want every man listening to understand deeply. It is never too late to improve how your body functions. I've seen men in their 70s and even 80s experience meaningful improvement when they finally aligned their habits with what their body needed now, not what worked decades ago. The future of your prostate health is not determined by age alone. It's influenced by the decisions you make consistently, quietly, and intentionally. And in the final part of this conversation, I want to bring everything together, not with fear, but with clarity. Because once you see how these small choices connect, you stop feeling anxious and start feeling capable again. And that's where real confidence begins. Conclusion. If there is one lesson I want you to take away from this conversation, it's this. Prostate enlargement after 60 is not just something that happens to you. It is something that gently responds to the environment you create inside your body every single day. We talked about blueberries and how calming inflammation can feel less like treatment and more like relief. We talked about pomegranate seeds and the importance of restoring circulation so your prostate no longer feels deprived or tense. We discussed apples with the skin on, not as a nostalgic food, but as a stabilizing force for blood sugar and hormone balance. We looked at kiwi, small but powerful, helping aging tissue defend itself instead of constantly reacting. And we talked about avocado, a fruit many men overlooked, yet one that supports flexibility, nourishment, and relaxation at the cellular level. Together, these foods are not a cure. They are something more realistic and more sustainable. Support. We also explored why, how, and when you eat matters just as much as what you eat. An aging body doesn't respond well to extremes. It responds to rhythm, consistency, and calm signals repeated day after day. And we addressed the single most common reason men see no progress at all, trying to add healthy habits without first removing what continues to irritate the prostate. When those pieces finally come together, something important shifts. Men stop feeling like they are fighting their bodies. Sleep becomes more predictable. Urination feels less stressful. Confidence begins to return, not because everything is perfect, but because progress finally feels possible. That is the real goal. This approach is about respect for your body at this stage of life, about understanding that aging doesn't mean decline is inevitable. It means the rules are different now, and once you learn those rules, you can work with your body instead of against it. And here's something I want to say clearly. As a doctor and as someone who has worked with men for decades, taking care of your prostate is not a weakness. Paying attention to these changes is not fear, it's wisdom. The men who age best are not the ones who ignore signals. They are the ones who listen early and respond gently. You don't need to do everything at once. You don't need perfection. You need a few steady choices made consistently. A calmer internal environment, less irritation, more support. Your prostate has been quietly working for you your entire life. It deserves that same quiet support now. Where you are today does not define where you'll be months or years from now. With understanding, consistency, and patience, many men find that life becomes less about managing symptoms and more about living again. With confidence, dignity, and control. That is the lesson I hope stays with you. If this video helped you better understand your body and gave you clarity you didn't have before, I'd really appreciate your support. Clicking the like button helps more men over 60 find trustworthy information without fear or confusion. Sharing this video with a friend, brother, or loved one could genuinely improve someone's quality of life. Sometimes people suffer silently simply because no one ever talks to them about these issues. I also want to hear from you. Leave a comment below and let me know which part resonated most, or what symptoms you've been dealing with. Your experiences matter, and your questions help shape future videos made specifically for you. And if you believe honest, doctor-led education like this should remain available and free for seniors, consider supporting this channel through a donation. Your contribution helps us continue researching, filming, and producing content that puts your health first. Without sensationalism, fear tactics, or misleading promises. Every like, every share, every comment, and every donation directly supports this mission. Thank you for taking the time to invest not only in your own health, but in the health of men everywhere who are simply looking for guidance, reassurance, and a better way forward.